219 Mossy Meadow Drive, 219 Mossy Meadow Drive. Complaint advised you just shot a subject and they're barely breathing. Guys, it's a sentinel.
That's clear.
On Saturday, August 26, 2023, while serving as on-call investigator for Brazoria County Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigation Division, I was advised of a call-out in reference to a shooting at 219 Mossy Meadow Drive, West Columbia, Texas, 77586. Upon arrival, I observed the location to be a single-story residence with green siding on the south side of the roadway. I made contact with Deputy Torres and learned that BCSO Dispatch received a 911 call from William Baton DOB, redacted, advising that he shot his son-in-law, Christopher Boykin DOB, redacted. Deputy Torres stated that William told BCSO Dispatch that he placed the gun in a lunch pail in the kitchen, and upon deputies' arrival William came outside and met them in the driveway before he was detained. Deputy Torres advised that Central EMS had arrived and cleared the scene prior to my arrival and advised no signs of life at 2,303 hours. Deputy Torres advised there were two other people at the residence when the offense occurred, Susan Baton DOB, redacted, William's wife, and Kimberly Boykin DOB, redacted, Christopher's wife and William's daughter. Entering the residence, your affiant observed a white male laying face up on the floor near the hallway and dining area. Your affiant observed two obvious gunshot wounds on the deceased's chest. Your affiant also observed a wound on Christopher's head that was possibly caused when Christopher fell to the ground after being shot. Your affiant observed bar stools to be out of place and knocked over, and on the east wall of the living room there was a hole in the blinds where a stray bullet had gone out of the window. While ID investigators Hargrave and Bolter continued processing the scene, your affiant exited the residence to begin my interviews with the witnesses. Your affiant made contact with Kimberly Boykin, who stated that she and Christopher had gone over to her parents' house to get her mother for a birthday outing to celebrate her upcoming birthday. Kimberly stated that arrived back at her parents' residence and were planning to stay the night when her dad got upset and began yelling. Kimberly stated she had gone outside and thought that Christopher was out there as well. Kimberly stated the next thing she knew she heard 3 shots and then her mother was screaming. Kimberly stated she looked back inside the residence and saw Christopher lying on the floor but could not go back inside. Your affiant then made contact with Susan. Susan stated that Christopher and Kimberly came and picked her up around 1030 hours on the morning of August 26, 2023. Susan stated that she spent the day with Christopher and Kimberly going from bar to bar in Surfside and eventually ended up at Ronnie's Ice House in Brazoria. Susan stated she did not drink anymore once she got to Ronnie's Ice House, and they stayed there for several hours. Susan stated when they got back to the house she went inside first and told William that Christopher and Kimberly were going to stay the night because they had drunk too much while they were out for the day and she did not want them to drive back to Pearland. Susan stated that William became angry and started yelling that she did not care anything about him. Susan stated that Christopher and William began yelling at each other and Christopher accused William of being a bully. Susan stated at the time the shots were fired she was standing near the bar by the kitchen but could see William and Christopher in the hallway area. Susan stated that Christopher and William were not being physical and the next she knew she heard 2 or 3 shots. Susan stated she ran over to Christopher and tried to help but she saw his eyes changing and began to yell for Kimberly. Susan stated that William was just standing there and not trying to help at all, and to her that seemed very strange, because he had been an EMT and knew how to do CPR. Susan stated to her it almost seemed as if it was premeditated because William did not help Christopher. Your affiant completed the initial interviews with Kimberly and Susan and then placed them back in the back seat of Deputy Torres' unit. ID investigator Hargrave completed her processing and notified BCSO Dispatch to have the on-call judge en route to complete inquest. Judge Rape arrived on scene and called time of death at 0255 hours on August 27, 2023. Your affiant advised Deputy Johnson to transport William to the county jail and book him in on an investigative hold until I could arrive. ID investigator Bolter followed Deputy Johnson to the Brazoria County Jail and took photographs of William and collected the clothing that he was wearing as evidence. Your affiant called and requested that William be brought over to CID for an interview. Your affiant activated an interview room camera as well as my county-issued audio-video equipment and began to the interview. Your affiant read the Miranda warning to William Baton, at which time he requested legal counsel and the interview ceased. Your affiant reviewed the call notes from the initial 911 call made by William and learned that William reported that he shot Christopher upper chest because Christopher attacked William and came into William's bedroom. Your affiant learned of a second 911 that was made by Kimberly reporting that her father shot her husband and that there was no fight. ID investigators Hargrave advised your affiant the gun that was located in the red and white lunch box on the counter was a Rossi .38 special revolver bearing serial number D745323. ID investigator Hargrave advised your affiant that the revolver contained 1 live round and 4 spent casings. That heretofore, on or about the 26th day of August AD 2023, and before the making and filing of this complaint, in the county of Brazoria, state of Texas, that William Baton did then and there intentionally or knowingly cause the death of an individual, namely, Christopher Boykin, by shooting the said Christopher Boykin with a deadly weapon, to wit, a firearm,